Hey everybody, welcome back to the Blockbusters show. I'm Adam Sykes, and this month we have 3 reviews planned, and they're all centered around Jack Frost and snow. You might remember a while ago on the show we talked about Jack Frost 2, which was the sequel to the straight-to-video horror comedy. So I decided that we should definitely go back to the first movie and talk a little bit about that. But before we do that, we have some other matters to tend to. Considering I talked about a Tim Allen movie not too long ago with Jungle to Jungle, I figured, hey, why don't we do another movie with Tim Allen and Martin Short? In this case, it is often hailed as the worst of the Santa Claus trilogy. We have Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause.
This holiday season, the most powerful clause of all,
The escape clause.
the escape clause,
The escape clause.
will be triggered, sending everyone back in time.
Ho, ho, ho.
Somebody's on the roof.
That coat belongs to me!
And it will knock one Santa out
You hit me with a shovel!
and let another slip in.
You tricked me!
You're not Santa anymore. You're just a guy who smells like a cookie.
This is so wrong.
Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause.
The first Santa Claus movie, I wouldn't really say is a perfect movie, but it is definitely a Christmas classic. It's easily the best in the series. I feel like as they go, they progressively get a little less good. But the first one I would definitely recommend, and the second one has some funny moments along the way. That's the one where Tim Allen has to find a wife so that she could be Mrs. Claus. This one I remember them advertising a lot during the mid to late 2000s. And I always remember them hyping up the whole idea of our characters going back in time and history getting rewritten and, oh, we have to go back and fix everything. That was all over the advertisements. And one of the major criticisms I always heard about the movie was, yeah, that's the last 15 minutes of the movie. That is not the main point of the film. The thing that was all over the advertisement, it's not even the full movie. And while I am going to criticize that, the actual movie itself we have to talk about. So let's talk about some of the cliches that go into the plot of Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Christmas cheer turns into holiday chaos when Scott Calvin, aka Santa, played by Tim Allen, invites his in-laws, Anne Margaret and Alan Arkin, for a visit and must simultaneously contend with Jack Frost, played by Martin Short, and his schemes to take over the North Pole. Scott, his family, and head elf Curtis must join forces to foil the nefarious plot. So the overall gist is that you have a new player in the story. You have Jack Frost, played by Martin Short, who is constantly trying to one-up Tim Allen's Santa because he feels that he is getting overshadowed as a Christmas icon. Obviously, this movie was released before that Guardians movie, you know, with Jack Frost and the Boogeyman and Santa and the Tooth Fairy and Easter Bunny and all that shit. This is before that movie came out, because once that movie came out, every single girl on Tumblr was freaking out about Jack Frost being an icon again. So yeah, this was during a rough period for Mr. Jack Frost. So even though he is very notorious for being a trickster and trying to pull fast ones as a means to take over Christmas, they decide to just let him hang out at the North Pole and oversight a bunch of different things that he's obviously going to tamper with throughout the course of the film. One of those things being the Hall of Snow Globes. There's no time for that. We gotta focus on the more key elements of Tim Allen Santa and his family. His wife, his ex-wife, and her husband. His stepdaughter, technically, but she keeps referring to him as Uncle.
Uncle Scott brought me.
For some reason, the kid from the first movie doesn't show up. There's like a quick line that they may have referenced that, but I don't know. Maybe they couldn't get the actor to come back or something. The main conflict comes in when Tim Allen's wife, who is pregnant, she says that, oh, I don't get to spend a lot of time with my family anymore now that, you know, we're always going down to the North Pole. Even though I think they said that they only go down to the North Pole like around Thanksgiving or so. It's like, it seems like they have the rest of the time to hang out with them. I mean, it's not like they're doing, you know, Santa, Mrs. Claus stuff around that point of the year, so. They decide that they'll bring him to the North Pole, but they have to keep all that a secret, so they say that it's a toy factory in Canada, and you got jokes of people trying to pretend that it's Canada and doing fake Canadian accents and stuff like that.
Welcome to Canada!
From there, obviously, you get a bunch of Jack dicking with things, like one of the machines in the toy factory delivery room. He freezes with his frost breath, and everyone acts like, oh, how could that have happened? I don't know, it probably was the man who is known for having magical frost powers. They also established that Tim Allen's stepdaughter, who keeps calling him uncle, and the reason that she's brought along is because Tim Allen's ex-wife and new husband says, oh, she's never seen the North Pole in person, so we should bring her along. You don't want to ruin her Christmas.
Charlie's been to the pole. Your new baby's being born at the pole. Lucy's a member of this family too, Scott. And if you harshly exclude her from this formative experience, you could scar her for life.
So they bring her along, they have some interactions with her and Jack Frost, which you see in the trailer.
Okay, chill.
I invented chill.
And Tim Allen, trying to, score some cool older relative points with her, takes her to the Hall of Snow Globes, and they see a snow globe that predicts the future where she hugs a snowman, and it warms up. So just remember that.
It's me.
Yeah.
Hugging a snowman. Oh, and he turns pink.
So once Jack knows about the Hall of Snow Globes and the fact that the access point to it is behind a vending machine, eventually emotions start to run high and things start to fester and boil up when Jack is just screwing with everybody. He tries to make a move on Tim Allen's mother-in-law. I don't know what the hell that was about.
Jack Frost, living at your nose.
Jack tells Tim Allen's wife that he's not a very good husband because he's always working so hard around the holidays. Then you got the obligatory scene where Tim Allen goes off on his wife and his in-laws because, oh, he's always working so hard around the holidays and no one's ever there for him or cutting him a break and blah, blah, blah.
Well, maybe you just don't understand the pressure I'm under.
Well, maybe it's not as bad as being ripped away from your family and told you can't see them anymore.
Dad.
Well, maybe that's why I invited you up here, Bud. So Carol could be surrounded by her family for love and support, while I try to do things you can't even imagine.
And then ultimately, Jack Frost tricks him into wishing that he had never become Santa while holding one of the magical snow globes. And so then Jack gets his wish, and he is now the new face of Christmas. It was at that point I was like, okay, I see what they're trying to do. It's not just that it's a time travel movie, it's also trying to be very similar to It's a Wonderful Life. What some people may not realize, unless they've actually seen It's a Wonderful Life, is that the whole going back and altering things to where you were never at a certain point of history where you changed other people's lives, that whole thing happens near like the last 15 minutes of that movie too. The difference is that in It's a Wonderful Life, there was a decent amount of build-up from the beginning of the story where you see how this one man did impact a bunch of people's lives, and then the last 15 minutes he questions if he was even worth it, and then the angel shows him the world where he was never there, and that he was never born. And then he realizes what an impact he's left on so many people. So it made sense with that movie. But here, this movie was marketed as a big time travel adventure where, oh, history's getting rewritten, we gotta set everything right. But it's at the last 15 minutes. That feels like total false advertising. It sucks because you got interesting concepts. Once Jack takes over as the new face of Christmas and he becomes Santa, he decided to make the information about the North Pole public, and he turns it into like a corrupt business and stuff like that. And I'm like, you could have had like a Christmas Back to the Future 2 thing going on here. You could have had the North Pole is now like a giant Trump Tower style like casino / business building, like all that kind of thing. You could have had a bunch of cool stuff with that, but no, it's just the last 15 minutes, and Tim Allen, of course, uses his quick wits to trick Jack Frost into wishing they go back in time once again so that he could stop him from becoming Santa, and Tim Allen could become Santa again. And yeah, all that cool stuff that was marketed in the trailer, 15 minutes, done. And oh look, that thing that was hinted at the beginning of the movie where the little girl hugs the snowman and he melts and becomes all warm and toasty. Well, guess what? The little girl shows Jack Frost some love, gives him a hug, and then he thaws, and he's no longer the ice drama queen that he was earlier. Isn't that just so sweet?
What's happening to me?
Warming your heart.
This is easily not one of the worst Christmas movies I've ever looked at for this show. I mean, Jack Frost 2 is so much worse than this, and that was supposed to be like tongue-in-cheek, self-aware. The terrible comedies like Jingle All the Way 2 and Christmas Vacation 2, those are way worse Christmas comedy sequels than this was. It's just that this movie does feel a little bit disappointing, like there was a bit of a missed opportunity. Some of the jokes can be funny, and then other ones are just really annoying and obvious, like in that annoying like Disney TV channel movie kind of way, except this was in theaters. Honestly, out of all the things in this movie that bug me, I think the worst thing is not the like some of the cliched elements like the third act falling out and then the whole It's a Wonderful Life thing taking over. No, I think the worst thing about this movie is that for some reason there are times in this movie where a character will do something, and then they feel the need to explain immediately after what they just did.
Oh, no worries. We have a unique distribution system up here.
Well, in order to distribute this stuff, you're gonna have to freeze time.
Oh, and he turns pink. What did you do?
I froze them.
Warming your heart.
Does that bug anybody else? It's like they're treating this movie like it's an audiobook or an ASMR YouTube video. Like, what is up with that? Like, you just did the thing. You didn't need to re-explain it. Do they think that everyone in the audience are just a bunch of dipshits that need everything explained to them? So yeah, not one of the worst Christmas movies I've ever sat through. I would say it's the weakest of the Santa Claus movies. I mean, the first one, not a masterpiece, but it definitely, I would put it up there with something like Elf, where it's like, it's one of those movies that people kind of rediscovered, and it's like, oh yeah, it's actually really good. The second one has some fun stuff in it. Not great, but it's certainly better than this one was. This one just felt like missed opportunity, and some of the cliches were a little bit like, okay, that's... It feels like not even the few funny lines of dialogue sprinkled throughout this movie could even save it. But yeah, not one of the worst, but it probably could have been better. So that's one Jack Frost movie out of the way, and we got another Tim Allen family comedy done on the show. With a Jack Frost that's basically the awful butt baby of Loki, played by Alan Cummings and Elsa. So next time we're going to be looking at a Jack Frost snowman movie with the 1998 family film starring Michael Keaton, Jack Frost. We can look at the horror movie from 1997. We have to look at the family film that came out just a year later with an equally terrifying, if not slightly more terrifying, snowman. That just so happens to be played by Batman. So look forward to that episode when it comes out. Until then, guys, I'm Adam Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
I'm so happy to see you too, Mom. And I'm sure you have a perfectly good reason for shutting us out of your life.